Somewhere on GitHub right now, there is a public repository describing how central banks across Latin America and the Caribbean could settle tokenized money with each other. The license is Apache 2.0, so anybody on Earth can read every line of it. The Inter-American Development Bank is paying for it, and as I record this, that repository has 7 stars. Exactly 7 people have starred that repository. Sit with that number for a moment, because what is being designed in the open there is settlement plumbing for a region of 666 million people. Underneath it runs a live blockchain that has produced a block every 2 seconds since February of 2022 and has never charged an end user a single cent. Before we dig in, I want you to come and build this with us. The Motion Room is our Discord, and I want it to be yours. You get daily announcements, hackathons, and job openings, plus a charts and data channel full of real research. Early access drops these videos before they go public, and joining puts you straight into the newsletter channel, one every Friday. Let us start where this began, because the origin explains almost everything about how it is built. In 2019, IDB Lab, the innovation arm of the Inter-American Development Bank, launched a program called LACChain to push blockchain adoption across Latin America and the Caribbean. And here's the part I find genuinely lovely. In 2021, they decided the network needed a neutral operator, somebody who was not the bank and not a vendor. They handed it to LACNIC and RedCLARA, and those names matter enormously. LACNIC is the regional internet registry, the people who allocate the actual IP addresses for the whole region. RedCLARA is the academic network that physically connects the universities across those same countries. Between them, they have spent 2 decades running shared, multi-country infrastructure that nobody owns and everybody depends on. Those two founded LACNET as an independent nonprofit in Uruguay, and that is the entity orchestrating the chain today. Then, on the 29th of September 2025, announced from Washington and Montevideo, LACChain and LACNet folded into a single brand called LNET. And the man running it now tells you the same story in one biography. Oscar Robles led LACNIC until October of 2024, and before that, he spent 2 decades running .mx at NIC Mexico. He co-founded LACNIC, he co-founded LACNet, and today he is chief executive of the blockchain. These are not crypto people who wandered into monetary policy. They are internet governance people who already knew how to run something shared across sovereign countries. Now let us open the hood, because there is one genuinely clever idea in here and almost nobody talks about it. I pointed a client at their public endpoint this morning and asked the chain to describe itself. It came back as Hyperledger Besu, version 23.4.1. The chain identifier is 648541, and when I asked it for the gas price, the answer came back as 0. It did not say low, it said 0. Consensus is IBFT 2.0, the Byzantine fault-tolerant protocol that ships with Besu. It is a proof of authority design, so known validators take turns proposing blocks, and 2/3 plus one of them must sign before a block becomes final. LNET keeps a rotating pool of 11 active validators, and when I queried the live set today, it returned 12 addresses. And here is the genuinely clever part of the design. If your users pay nothing at all, what is stopping somebody from spamming you into the ground? Most chains answer that with fees. LNET answers it by moving the gas somewhere else entirely. Gas is not handed to end users at all. It is handed to the writer nodes, and every paying membership gets a gas budget per block. So the spam limit lives with the member operating the node, and the person actually sending the transaction never sees a bill. And they rebuilt that whole mechanism this year. Their chief technology officer, Luis Bocci, published the new gas model, and it runs on EIP 2771, which gives you meta transactions through a gateway contract they call the Meta Transaction Forwarder. That is a team who shipped a zero-fee network and then rebuilt the mechanism on public Ethereum standards. You should be skeptical at this point, because development banks announce blockchain programs constantly, and plenty of them turn out to be a logo slide. So let us go looking for receipts, starting with the chain itself. Their block explorer is public, and this morning it read 68 million blocks, an average block time of 2 seconds, almost 5 million transactions, and 7,500 addresses. Every transaction row on that page shows a fee of 0, and I will give you the unflattering number beside the flattering one, because that is the deal on this channel. Utilization is running at about 1/100th of 1%, which means most of those blocks are completely empty. The fair reading is not that this thing is saturated with demand. It is that nearly 5 million real transactions have settled here, with an enormous amount of headroom still left. Then there are the deployments, and one of them genuinely surprised me. Peru Compras is the central public procurement agency for the entire country. Since April of 2019, it has been writing its purchase orders and the bids behind them onto this chain. Every purchase order carries a QR code, so any citizen with a phone can scan it, pull up the original PDF, and confirm that nobody quietly edited the document afterwards. That is state procurement transparency, running in production for 7 years straight. And then there is Nuam, the holding company that merged the Santiago, Lima, and Bogota stock exchanges, running a shared ledger across all 3 national markets. Hold on to that one, because it walks us straight into everything that follows. So that brings us to CB Web 3. And I want to be precise here, because the name invites people to overstate it. In LNET's own words on their own page, CB Web 3 is a regional sandbox network designed to enable the settlement of tokenized security markets, facilitating interoperability between central banks, financial institutions, and end users. The word sandbox is theirs, and the project phase is labeled takeoff. This is early, and they say so themselves. The shape is a hub and spoke. Every participating country runs its own domestic Hyperledger Besu network, and that is the spoke, where its central bank issues and redeems tokenized central bank money. In the middle sits one shared transnational network, the hub, with every central bank on equal footing there. Hyperledger Cacti relays cryptographic proofs between them, and privacy comes from Hyperledger Paladin using Zito tokens. So zero-knowledge proofs hide the balances, while validators still check the arithmetic. And the headline transaction has the most interesting name in the entire repository. They call it Enhanced Correspondent Banking. 2 parties settle a cross-border payment atomically using hash time lock contracts. One side locks its money behind a cryptographic secret, the other side does the same, and revealing that secret settles both legs at once. If the clock runs out, everybody automatically gets their money back. Now think about why that name is loaded. Correspondent banking is the old chain of banks holding accounts with each other, and it has been retreating from this region for years. Remittances are 30% of the entire economy of Honduras, and more than a quarter of El Salvador's, on World Bank figures. When the correspondent chain thins out, that is precisely what gets more expensive. So the flagship flow in this repository is named after the exact thing the region has been losing. The governance around all of this matters too. It runs as a digital public good working group, co-chaired by nominees from SEMLA and FLAR, the region's central bank association, and its own reserve fund. And in July of this year, Cosmos Labs and Peersyst signed on to join the work. So let us be straight about where this stands, because that is the whole reason the video is worth making. Go and look at the repository yourself, and you will find 7 stars, 3 forks, 23 open issues, 20 commits in total, and no releases published. The last commit on the main branch was the 24th of March this year. The 3 research papers in the docs folder are all labeled as version 0.1 drafts, and nearly all of that writing came from one blockchain solutions architect named Carolina Velasquez. And yet the toolbox in there is genuinely real. There is a full interface specification for the settlement flow, mock responses that walk the whole thing, including the timeout and refund path, 13 test vectors, and 16 conformance tests you can run against your own code. But only one of the two scenarios is covered, and the cross-chain path still sits in the backlog, openly marked as work the community is invited to pick up. I also want to flag something carefully. No individual central bank is publicly named anywhere as a CB Web3 participant. Cosmos Labs describes it on their own website as a consortium of 26 central banks, but LNET, the IDB, SEMLA, and FLAR have not published that roster themselves, so treat it as a partner's description rather than a confirmed list. Then there is the genuinely hard problem, which, to their credit, they wrote down rather than hid. Their privacy paper points at Brazil, where the central bank found during its Drex work that a plain Besu ledger exposes participants, transactions, and balances to every node. Brazil called it a trilemma between privacy, decentralization, and programmability. And that is the unsolved knot at the center of every wholesale tokenized money design on Earth. Nobody has finished that argument yet. The difference here is that you can read their working out. So let me leave you with things you can actually do, rather than a feeling. The repository is public under LF Decentralized Trust Labs, and 3 research papers on governance, interoperability, and privacy sit in the docs folder for free. If you want your hands dirty, a 15-minute tutorial walks a complete cross-border settlement against a mock server, and 9 backlog items are named and waiting for somebody to build them. And if you only want to confirm the chain is real, that takes about a minute. Open the Explorer at explorer.l-net.io or point any Ethereum library at the public endpoint and ask for chain 648541. It will answer, and it will tell you the gas price is 0. Here is what I keep coming back to. 7 stars is not a verdict on the work. It is a measure of how few people are looking, and that gap is the opportunity. If you got value out of this, subscribe, because we go this deep every week on the infrastructure that actually moves institutional money. Drop a comment and tell me which chain to pull apart next, and come join us in the motion room. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.